If you would all rise, and we'll have a moment of silence, please. Thank you very much. And if you'll turn around, face the flag. Commissioner Martin.
Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is that on roll? That's on. Well, we want to thank you all for being here. And the first thing we'll do is we will start out with recognitions. Dr. Arnold.
Thank you. Tonight we've got several of our PTOs that are going to be recognized, our support groups. We're going to start out with Dandridge Elementary. There he is, Mr. Hunt. Come on up here, Mr. Hunt.
I want to know if you want to come to the front.
Oh, yeah.
We've got two of our members from the PTO here today, Miss Brittany Powell and Miss Christy McLaughlin. Brittany is our de facto leader. I think she kind of got nominated as she went through the process, and Christy's been her right-hand person throughout the year. We appreciate these ladies for all they do. They help us really with our culture. They're very instrumental in helping us decorate our school. We try to decorate it for different seasons and different events. They come in at the beginning of the year and they help landscape, put new mulch down, really just make the school look great. And then they also work with our receptionists and some other community members to decorate our front area. If you've ever come by our school, you know how it's usually decorated. And so we appreciate them for that. That's the first thing that they do. They also support our teachers throughout the year with different types of activities. I can't remember everything. They do a Christmas card where my favorite, they bring Christmas tree cakes around. They brought an energy tea set up. I'd never seen anything like that before, but I think they kind of spun off of one of our local businesses, and so they had energy tea for all of our teachers, and they loved that so much. I think they repeated it 2 or 3 times throughout the year. They always provide for our teachers during our parent-teacher conferences. There's always a light supper there. We call it a light supper. There's not usually anything left when it's finished, but we appreciate everything they do. They've helped us with Read Across America. One of the most inspiring things that the students, they get so excited about the Dr. Seuss hats. And so these ladies give us their time and sell the Dr. Seuss hats. I think one year they sold them at a loss, but I think we're back now, maybe breaking even, and they just do it out of the goodness of their heart. And we just appreciate them and love everything they do for us and help us with our students. And like I said, there's just so many things I can't, I don't know. I could be up here forever. Tommy told me 2 minutes on that.
She's going to get a picture. You want me or just me?
No, yeah, you
All right, I'd love to. Did you want to talk?
No.
Oh.
Yeah.
Come on in here. Rush strong. You don't get the microphone. Yeah, I'm just glad I get to go second since Jim said a whole lot and Emily wrote a speech. So I'll introduce our PTO board. This is Haley Claus, she's our president. We got Traven Taylor, Crystal Parrott, and Starla Nelson. Y'all stand up, y'all come on up. You know they're gonna make y'all come up here, take a picture anyway, come on up here. We got a fantastic PTO at Rush Strong. They take care of our teachers. They do events for just our families and communities. They put stuff on at the school frequently. The first phone call I make when we need something is one of these four ladies, and so I can't say enough good things about all the things they do. They're fundraising machines. They want to contribute to any project that we have, capital or otherwise, and so we can't do what we do without them. And so we really appreciate everything they do at Restaurant Store. Yeah, 100%. Come on in here. Here we go. Thank you all. Appreciate it. New Market.
You're out of order.
Mount Horeb. I can have Chrissy just erase it and time again. We can change it.
She just started leaving.
Yeah.
Okay, at Mount Horeb, we're very excited. We have a new PTO board with the exception of one member. So they just got started this semester. So I have with us our president, Amber Mullins. We're very excited for the work that she's going to do. And others that couldn't be here were Lindsay Ellswick, our vice president, Tina Shawver, our treasurer, and Susie Wares, our secretary. So very excited about the future.
You ready?
I'm ready, we're ready.
I'm on.
You're not trying to be
Since you
correct.
weren't finishing your rifles yet.
Cheers.
Emily was gonna lead us in a song and dance. So this is our PTO board. Come on up here, ladies. And children, come on up here, little children. Because these kids found out once their parents were elected, they were also elected. So when we decorate the school, they get right in there with us. So we have Holly Pittman, Michelle Coggins, Michelle Montgomery, and Sarah Ferris. And I'll just share our proud moment this year. These ladies got together and wrote a grant for our playground. And a local business called Timken gave us a $70,000 playground grant.
Wow.
So these ladies are really laying the groundwork for our future students, you know, for the improvements that we're going to make. But I mean, they're at our school doing something all the time. We just couldn't make it without them. And we got Mackenzie. She's the best decorator with the glue gun you've ever seen. And this right here, this kid right here, if anybody needs mulch moved, you call Dominic Gunner because he can get it done.
So we couldn't do any of this without this lady.
Yeah.
At all the schools, I know all you guys love your principal, but we're a team. It's all of us.
Hey, just spin around right
Spin
here.
around. Here, sit in front.
Big mind. Thank you all. Thanks. Randy Rogers, Jefferson County High School.
Yeah. Now you got turned on.
It's on.
Is it on? Yeah, it is now.
Red. Sorry, I was gonna talk for a little. We got a large group here tonight, from the high school. This was a brainchild of a couple people, so I will not take credit for it by no means. But I was an active participant, but we, under the direction of Emma Soul, Missy Hayes, and others, we decided to reach out to our incoming freshmen and current freshmen on scheduling. So all the high school people you see here tonight, we have counselors, we have teachers, admin. We had one-on-one sessions with incoming 8th graders and current freshmen about signing up for classes and what they needed to take and how it proceeded from here on out. Emily, would you like to elaborate? I'm gonna make others talk.
Okay, so I'm gonna let you guys know who helped with it. So Dr. Alder helped with it. Come up here. Just go up when I say your name because we're going to take a picture with it. Miss Amy Cogdell helped with it. Miss Jessica Estep helped with it. Miss Valerie Evans. And there are more people who are not here tonight that helped. We had like over 30 people that helped. Lisa Hall helped with it. Amanda Hansel. Missy Hayes came and helped with it, so she worked it. Mr. Rogers worked hours and hours. I think every night he was there from 3:30 until 8, closing it down with me. And then we had Jennifer Hicks helping with it. She brought her minions with her tonight. And then Miss Katie Martin helped with it. Dr. Jennifer Sizemore helped with it. Miss Amber Ogle helped with it. Miss Paula Rowland, she is our registrar. She came and she helped just organize and get people through. Miss Marcella Charles Casto helped with it. So she also helped check people in as they were coming in. I mean, we had over 800 people come through, so it was quite the job to help do that.
How many freshmen, incoming freshmen did we not meet with?
So we met with, I can't remember, 460 that we met with out of 515. And then that was true for the next week too.
Right, we only had 50 eighth graders who were coming to the high school that didn't get to come this night. So that's an extraordinary turnout the first time.
Hey, we're gonna have to tighten up. You're about 6'7", get in the front.
I'm pretty buff.
Come on in.
Bring this for me.
Oh, yeah. Emily Gwynn from Maury Middle School.
So I did write a speech, but I'm not going to use it now. But I did it so that I didn't ramble, but I think I got it all up here. So these are the lovely ladies of Maury, Jen, Susan, Tracy, Tabitha. They are amazing. They're all brand new to PTO this year for Maury. It is really, really hard. It is really, really hard to maintain a PTO at a middle school level, and they do such an amazing job. This year has been so much more engaging, so much more fantastic for the teachers, the students, really the community in general. They have put on all sorts of awesome events. I've never seen the kids so excited about competitions. I've never seen the teachers so excited about competitions. They feed us all the time. They help us anytime the doors are open at school, and we don't honestly know what we would do without them anymore. So now it's pretty permanent. Now you can't leave ever. But yeah, I mean, they truly are the backbone of our school community, and I thank you very, very much.
It's rough. I feel old whenever I remember these people, whenever they were a little bitty kid. No. Bad. Thank you all, appreciate it.
Just on behalf of the board, I just really, really want to thank all the parents in the PTO and the folks at the high school. I mean, your parent involvement is vital for our school district, and we know you've got other things going on in your life, and you're taking the time that you take to get to the schools, and we just really, really want to know we appreciate it so much. So on behalf of the board, thank you very, very much. Okay.
Tommy, check your keys, because after this group come up, you're liable not to have keys.
No.
You have to watch stuff.
All right, this is our first work session since we've changed our policy that we'll have public comment. We'd like to remind you, this can be on any topic that relates to the Jefferson County School District. And it would be each commenter has 3 minutes from the time that you begin to speak. So if you come up, give your name and your address, and then tell us what you have to say. The first person, and I'm sorry, is, what's that?
I can't read it.
Yeah, is it Jen Archer or Ian Archer?
Sorry, I thought that was a check-in.
She said, she just wanted to have a picture with you, that's all.
Hey, somebody scratched their name out under yours, but they did not scratch yours out. I don't know who that was.
Well, you know. Okay, next is Michelle Jeanette. And you have to get real close to that mic.
Is that good?
That's good.
Michelle Jeanette, I live in Dandridge. I just have a request for the board. It's unusual. We will be celebrating a historic milestone coming up this April 19th. I don't know if anybody knows what that might be. This date will mark 250 years of what we know, or the anniversary of what we know, as the shot heard around the world at Lexington and Concord in 1775, the first skirmish that was destined to birth a nation. This day should forever be marked in the American mind as the day a handful of Americans stood their ground, refusing to surrender their God-given rights in the face of British tyranny. Now, students may learn about the ride of Paul Revere through the poem on the night before, but to quote the great Paul Harvey, not Paul Hardy, do you know the rest of the story? Do the students learn that Paul Revere was actually captured and almost killed that night, but was released? Do we know that many of the militiamen that morning were from a church pastored by Reverend Jonas Clark, and that this militia was under the Continental Congress, and that the Reverend Clark had preached that only lawful way to resist tyranny was to do so under duly constituted authority, and that the orders given to the militia that day were to stand your ground, don't fire unless fired upon, but if they mean to have war, let it begin here. There are so many other aspects to learn about that day, but I just wanted to ask the board if there's any way the students can celebrate this historic milestone next month during that week of April 19th. I remember there was a huge celebration for the bicentennial when I was in elementary school, and it made a huge impact on me. Our students should be learning that we live in a very unique and exceptional nation. We have the longest lived constitution in history, where the average constitution is around 17 years. We are coming up on ours lasting 240 years. That is an amazing accomplishment, but it cannot be sustained without students in school learning about the great history of this republic. So I just ask that you consider having some maybe kind of handout or email passed to the teachers about the significance of April 19th leading into the establishment of this great nation. And I would be happy to email some information on that if you wanted to do that. But thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, that ends our public comment section. You will see that we're a little lean tonight on the school board. We have our chairman, Josh Cameron, is at an FFA. He is an active teacher, and he is an active teacher, and he's at an FFA convention. Wasn't able to make it, and Commissioner Jarnigan and Commissioner Bradley are out sick. So we will carry on. I'd like to remind all the board members to for the purpose of the YouTube video that we record, please speak directly into the mic when you're speaking. Okay. Items for information. Are there any questions or comments on the items for information that you've received? That would be the financial report, district enrollment report, and monthly policy review. Hearing none, we'll move on. Okay, item number 7, director's input on items for information and upcoming business session agenda items. Take it away, Dr. Arnold.
All right. I'm going to give our recognitions of time. Any of you who came tonight to be recognized and leave, you're welcome to leave. Any of you that want to stay, I'm probably going to talk for the next 45 minutes. So, I know. I just want to give you all that opportunity. So. I know. I wanted to give them a heads up. All right. First is TISA outcomes money. So we have recognized those funds. This is similar to last year. I just wanted to bring to your attention just about the outcomes money and the intent for that money to be used for early grade instructional assistance, for our tutoring positions, to run our tutoring program. Much of that is state mandated for students who are performing below grade level who have been retained, and to fund students' industry certifications in the career technical education program. So that's just, that money has been recognized by the board and is going into next year's budget. I was just wanting to bring to your attention the plan on the use of that fund. And that'll be on your, just to formally recognize that plan at next, say next month, it is next month's board meeting, to recognize those funds, or to recognize this plan to use those funds. And that's for the TISA outcomes funding.
Are there any questions on that? I have one. Is the cost of the programs that these are funding pretty much the same this year as they were last year?
Yes, with the exception of yearly salary increases,
Yeah.
they're the same.
And do these TISA funds pretty much break us even with that, underfunded or overfunded?
We hope it's always just a tad bit overfunded.
Okay.
So we don't want to ever be under budget. So we try to budget, we budget insurance purposes. We always budget the higher end for insurance. Not everybody takes that higher end, so there's a little bit of savings there. There's going to be time whenever someone resigns or leaves for whatever reason, we have to hire somebody else, so there'll be a few days of nobody being in a position. All of that happens and keeps us right at or under budget.
Good. Thank you.
I actually do have a question. With that voucher system going in place, we've been told that it will not affect our TISA funding, correct?
It definitely will not, it will not affect this year's funding because it's based on, or next year's funding is based on the previous year's students.
Right.
So we've already earned that money. Now, I don't know what's going to happen down the road. I mean, 3, 5, 7 years from now, I don't know.
And that voucher is supposed to be in place for the next 2 or 3, I think 3 years, right? But once that
Yes.
ends, they could change it doesn't apply as far as, or based on our enrollment, correct?
Hold harmless, I think is what you're talking about. So within part of the voucher bill, there is a significant hold harmless statute that if our enrollment drops, we will not get less money than we get the year before. So each year though, our base will, next year our base is going to increase probably somewhere around $2.2 million. So that does not, if we lost, oh gosh, I'm going to have to do math. I mean, if we lost 200 students, you're still talking about under $2.2 million probably. So that's not a per pupil expenditure. That's I mean, obviously, if we lost 200 students, we're probably losing positions also. But, you know, we have limited, unless the voucher system ended up going to include parents could get funds for homeschooling their child, or it dropped into categories to receive state funding, such as, right now, the funding has to go to private schools that employ teachers that are licensed teachers. They have to be a category, category, I believe it's 3, 4, or 5. It's on the top end. It can't be a category 1 or 2 school and get these vouchers. So unless it went to homeschool parents could get voucher money, or small church type private schools, church oriented schools could get this voucher money. You know, I don't see it affecting us at this time in the next 3 years.
Is this the same, kind of the same each year? Or
This
how do they
comes
base
out,
this?
this TISA outcomes money comes from how we score on the TCAP assessment, ACT, how students leave one category such as below expectations and move up another category. So if we grow students or students achieve at a high level, then there is funding given to the state or given to the district for that performance. So this is strictly on outcomes of students' performance on TCAP testing and ACT testing.
Okay. Any other questions on that?
The next is something that I would ask that you take action on at next month's board meeting, and it is the resolution 25-139 requesting permission to participate in section 4 of the Education Freedom Act of 2025. Within this resolution, you will see that this is a part of the acts. The board has to bring this resolution and pass this resolution, which has to be sent to the state. And within this, you see that it reads, Jefferson County Board of Education is responsible with governing the public school system and ensuring the well-being of all students under its educational directives. And whereas the Jefferson County Board has consistently expressed opposition to school voucher programs and the redirection of taxpayer dollars intended for public education to private institutions. It goes on to just explain the bill, the amount of money, and I just wanted to highlight that it, within this resolution, expresses that the board has been against vouchers and the use of public dollars for private institutions. But I also want to draw to your attention the last whereas, Section 4 of the Education Freedom Act of 2025 stipulates that a local board of education must formally affirm its intention to participate in order to receive the funds allocated for these teacher payments. These teacher payments means a certain thing. Teachers in this act must be licensed, evaluated, and perform the majority of their duties daily in instructing students. So, within the $2,000 bonus given by the state, there's a lot of categories of people. Basically, your principals, your assistant principals, your supervisors that are in this room today, school counselors, that about 2/3 of that high school group that was here, they would not receive a $2,000 state bonus, nor would teachers such as school psychologists, some special ed coordinators,
Guidance counselors.
guidance counselors would, I've heard two things, from two different board, whenever you talk to an attorney, if you talk to two of them, you're gonna hear two different things. So guidance counselors are up in the air, instructional coaches are up in the air, but for certain, we have somewhere around 75 teachers that would not receive this state raise. But this is the first step to receive the somewhere around $1.2 million that would come from the state to give a bonus to what they deem as teachers. This would be the first step to doing that. Is a resolution has to be passed by the board.
Any questions? Okay, let's move on to the next.
The next page and a handout that you have with you, sitting there that's highlighted, just kind of goes into some detail about what I talked about as far as an employee raise. At the bottom, you see where it talks about cost of bonus for certified staff not covered by Tennessee Department of Education. So the first thing I want to do for each of you as board members is to give you the opportunity to not have to choose who you give a bonus to. I have 3 kids. Every year I get them all 3 Christmas gifts. I would hate to have to choose who gets a gift which Christmas. So I don't want to put you in that position. If you so choose to put yourself in that position, that would be up to the board. But here is a plan for highlighted in front of you that would give the 75, which we feel like that's a max. We don't feel like it's under that. It could be 60. But we don't know until the state pulls us and sends us a check. So this gives the certified staff not covered by Tennessee Department of Ed, that gives those staff a bonus. That cost is $170,475.
Doctor, could I stop you
Yes.
right there? Are those the teachers that you mentioned before in your prior statements when we were talking about the resolution?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
Principals, assistant principals, whoever is not included by the state, that's what that number includes. And then, none of our classified employees, that is employees who are on an hourly rate. So bus drivers, cafeteria workers, school custodians, receptionists, bookkeepers, attendance clerks, on down the list of instructional assistants. None of those people would be included in any type of raise from these. So this highlighted sheet gives you a cost of giving full-time classified employees, somewhere around 495 of them, a $500 bonus, and that would be just shy of $250,000. And part-time classified employees, $250, would be just shy of $50,000, for a total cost of $335,267 and some change after you take in employer costs. So this is nothing that, you know, that you have to, you know, I just want to give you this information to consider in voting on soon, so that we could look at a use. I would recommend a use of fund balance for this. Fund balance is terrible use for reoccurring costs, but you know, if you feel like you have enough fund balance and you use it for a one-time cost, then that's a good use of fund balance. You don't want to use fund balance to cover your budget for the year, because you know you're going to have to do it again next year. But for a one-time bonus payment, it's a good use of funds if you feel like you have it available. We currently have, if everything goes through, that means your Jefferson, was that 8.5 million was Jefferson Elementary?
Yes.
Then 150,000 for the cost of Talbot land. There was another cost in there, wasn't there, Joy? That goes
Those are the only two that are pending.
There's only two pending.
Yeah.
So if all those pass county commission, that would bring your available fund balance to just shy of $2.35 million. And this plan would then take that fund balance down to 1.8 to end the year. And you know, come October, we'll either have a reserve, or I guess I'll be fired if I have to come back and say, you know, we're over budget, missed it by $2 million. So we may all be looking for a job if that happens when we do it. But you know, there's no reason to sit here and guess what that may be. It may be $70,000. It may be $700,000. I have no clue right now. Couldn't even get close. If you gave me 3 days. So, you know, this is a plan to use $500,000 that would allow all employees to receive a bonus, and it would allow us to, by you in April voting for this, or sometime, allow us to use fund balance, which could be put in the budget for use next year. So these funds would not be dispersed at the earliest until probably October. Maybe September, but we do, it's in the governor's budget for next year. So those funds would be dispersed from the State Department. At the earliest we would receive those would probably be sometime in August. And then it takes us a little bit of, remember, come August, we're also hiring 40, 50 people. Finances, finalizing budgets, we're getting things out. It's a busy time. So we couldn't turn this around in 2 weeks. It would take more like, you know, 6 to 8 weeks once we receive those, to turn this bonus around.
Mr. Arndt?
Can we put this on the agenda for our next meeting?
It is on.
I've got it on there, so,
Okay.
yeah, it is on there. There is a plan there. I mean, I would, if I was you as a board to give you a recommendation, I would look at this plan that talks about a $500, $250 raise for classified and the 75 positions. So just note, if you approve this plan and you approve $505,742.50, and then we get in the weeds 3 months from now and we spend $440,000 on the bonus, the additional money would just go back into your fund balance, what we didn't use. Or for a bonus for finance department.
Sure.
Yeah.
Danny, do you have any other questions?
No, sir.
So is this based on just who we have currently employed, right? I mean, if we were to hire somebody, or say 10 more positions, teachers or whoever, between now and the end of the year, would they fall under this too, or is it just currently employed once we do the resolution?
Yeah, these are current positions that would be in the budget next year. So this anticipates what's in the budget going into next year.
Are you kind of asking, kind of what would the drop dead date be that people would get this, that anybody hired after a certain date would not receive this, or?
Yeah, I'm trying to find out, like, just say you were to, if we were to hire 50 more people, would they also automatically, even though they just started working for us, would this number have to go up then?
Yeah, so, in the past, whenever the board, it was a while back, we did set a date that you had to be employed by, in order to get the bonus. So within the, let's see if I can get this straight. Within the Freedom Act of 2025, the state, it has to be, it is given to this year's employees. So that's within the, so if we hire somebody August 1, they don't get the money from the state. So if you approve the bonus, then we'll deal with all the red tape of the state and how the bonus is distributed to be equal. We have in the past, we did, if anybody was hired by, whenever we gave the bonus before, there was employees who were hired 7 days prior who got the bonus, and there was employees who were hired 5 days after that didn't get the bonus. So I don't remember when that was. That was back in maybe 2021 or 2 with some federal money. So there were some guidelines set forth that was just equal to everybody that administered those funds. But the teachers is set within the act.
Right.
It states in there who gets it and who doesn't.
Ms. Mayor, did you have any questions? So we could, so as far as I hear, the bonuses from the state is set, who gets the money when. However, we can determine, for example, if we said that an employee in these categories, the part-time classified, full-time classified, and cost for certified staff not covered, we could say anybody who is employed as of the end of the school year is eligible. Anybody who is hired after that is not eligible. That's pretty much up to our purview. We can set those parameters.
You can, you can. You could as a board, or you could just leave that up to us to set, either way. But it does say within the bonus that appropriate funds to provide one-time bonuses of $2,000 to each teacher employed in a K through 12 school in the 24-25 school year.
School year,
Yes,
not calendar.
right. This school year
School.
is who gets the bonus from the state.
I would think we do the same thing, just follow that, but that's just a. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much. Next.
Next. Next, I have some budget notes that I have typed up and shared with you that includes just things that are in the budget that you will see. Teacher salary is currently $44,500 for a full-time teacher beginning with a bachelor's degree. We must move that salary next year to $47,000. That's a state minimum. And within the budget, we are moving the beginning teacher pay to $47,500. So that gets us in a midway period of next year having to move it to $50,000. So it's a little bit more than $47,000, but next year it must be $50,000. So we had the money to make it within the budget. We thought that that was a good place to land at, and that's where we're at currently. Currently in the budget, we also have a pay raise for our classified hourly employees of 3.5%. We look to increase $10 for certified subs to $140. That is an increase. And we look to move driver pay to $110 a day and to move starting hourly rate to $13 an hour. Paul asked a little bit about TISA increases. This year's increase in TISA funding is roughly $2.45 million. The certified employee pay increase alone is around $2.1 million. Remember that anytime the governor gives a raise, like he's saying we're going to move teacher pay and this includes raises, we don't get 100% of that money. So we're roughly a 70-30 county. So we get 70% of that, and then the county has to pay 30%. So if we run a $50 million budget that we get state funds on, then we have to come up with about, around 20% or around 20 million from the county to go with that 50 million. So that's your maintenance of effort that the county has to give to match that. So that's why these raises have great for teachers. I'm happy for them, but it's been a challenge to these are higher raises than we've ever given. And that's just something that has been tightened our budget up. You know, from the first year, whenever we got TISA money, we had a lot of money right there off the bat. But you've seen that shrink and get tighter. And this is the main reason why, you know, somewhere between 83 to 85% of our total budget or state, TISA, and county is salaries. So those salaries greatly impact our budget. One note there at the bottom of the first page, it talks about 171-163. These are teacher assistants mainly. You're going to see a large increase in that line. It's because we transferred positions from a 189 position to a 163 line item. That's just financial and clerical, but if you see that, whenever you get a look at your budget, you're going to see a line called variances, and that variance is going to show pluses or minuses, and that's one area you're going to see a significant increase. But if you look at that 189 line, you're going to see a decrease in the 189 line. Also, within the Innovative School Model Grant, last year we got 75% of funds. And then that reduced down to 50%. So we're having to pay more on top of that grant to cover the cost of it. That's where we have brought our CTE programs into our middle schools. Been a very popular thing for our students, and something that has sparked their interest. It helps them to prepare as they come to high school to kind of know what's offered and what's out there. Talked a little bit, there is a position we're looking at for, right now we have an athletic director who is a teacher, who is a bus driver, and I don't know if you've been, we have a lot of athletics that's at the high school, a lot of people involved. There's a lot that goes to this. I remember they have to make sure that students are eligible. We also have a law that's being looked at as far as a one-time transfer rule. That's going to just be a headache for somebody if that goes through. Somebody's going to have to do paperwork on all these transfers that go in or come out, that come out of our school or come into our school. So, if you have violations of these, there's penalties. We've had some violations, we've had some penalties. There's monetary penalties where people are fined, coaches lose some, they're suspended, but coaches training, parent meetings, increased number of athletes. Also, coaches have to go through concussion training, safety trainings, and then also we've had a couple of incidences where fans misbehave and get ejected, and we have to handle those. Also, parent complaints are handled through the athletic department. It's a busy job. So we're looking at adding a position there, and also it talks about an additional $45,000 to go with already budgeted $60,000 to provide Knoxville Orthopedic Center. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Funds to provide athletic training coverage to middle schools. It sounds like a simple thing until one of our principals, or Katie's back there as an SRO, but whenever somebody in the stands goes into cardiac arrest, we're not the greatest people in the world in this room as educators to save people's lives. My brother's a police officer. I remember one time he was like 0 for 12 whenever he first started out on CPR, trying to revive people. It's usually you don't get there in time, and these people to address these kids and determine if they have concussions or you know, if they have the ability to play or, you know, if they need to seek help. I know a lot of times whenever a kid gets injured, they try to get a doctor's appointment on their own, and next thing you know, it's 7 to 8 days to get a doctor's appointment. With this connection, they're seen the next morning between 7 and 10 a.m. So it's just immediate. It's a good thing for us to have and for us to provide for our students, to have somebody there to be able to lay eyes on them and help them to get help and support. There's also in there about an assistant maintenance supervisor. I know that that was brought up about use of fund balance to start that position. So we have closed that application. We have kind of started rough interviews as far as going through applications and on the phone. And I believe next week they are doing some in-person stuff, and hopefully by end of this month, 1st of April, have somebody named to go into that position. $722-10172. I believe that's instructional coaches, but that's a decrease in federal funds. So used to, they were 100% paid out of federal funds. You've heard me talk about economically disadvantaged numbers changing. And whenever that decreases, we get less federal funding. And so it's not that this county's getting richer and more affluent people are coming to our schools. It's just that the federal government's changing the and serving them in a different way, and we receive less federal funding. So that's part of that, why you will see an increase in that line item for instructional coaches. 761100-707 capital outlay funds. So you see $400,000 that we will bring a plan to the board to approve for capital projects. I also want to remind you that $179,798 of capital funds is being used to pay down the EESI loan for energy project. Remember that we have money, and somebody asked me, why did you get this loan whenever you have cash on hand? So our cash on hand earns a percentage rate. And we got this loan for 0.5%. So our money's making more than this money's costing us. Therefore, you know, it's an easy thing to do. If you're sitting there making 3.5% on money, there's no sense in bringing it out and using it. This is just a state. I don't remember what our energy plan costs, but you know, if it was $9 million total, we got roughly $2.2 million in the energy EESI loan, and this pays for that over years using our operating funds. A couple things on buses. Buses are, whenever I started this job back in 2019, I believe it was, I could go get a good used bus for $85,000, easy, all day long. Now, I can't even hardly get a used bus. And a new bus is over $160,000. So that's probably at least a 40% increase that we have seen in the last 4 years. And we're looking to buy 2 new buses next year, a 90-passenger bus. I think we either have that or it's coming. But we will need another 90-passenger bus next year. So we're looking at adding those. And then also in the bus line, whenever you get to transportation costs, you're going to see those 12 bus monitor positions added to the budget at a cost of $135,000. So that's added in there this year. We've got a couple of recommended cuts up there that we've looked at, just some items that we use, and there's some other cuts that have been made, but those were just some that we listed. We also are looking at a 120-day position for teacher retention, recruitment, development. Within the board's 5-year plan, it talks about teacher retention and recruitment. And that was an initiative you came up with as a board, and something that I want to support also. So we have a lot of teachers that are coming to us through different avenues. One day they're an electrician, the next day they're doing industrial maintenance in CTE. One day they're an accountant, the next day they're teaching math at the high school. One day they're business, and the next day they're in our business department. So these teachers don't go through there's also things that are permitting teachers, and what's the other word, Carol? Permits and
Job embedded.
Job embedded. So this is where they do not have student teaching. Carol and I were talking the other day, and I said, you know, what would it be like to go have surgery and have a job embedded surgeon?
Yeah.
You know, they were a butcher the day before, but now they're going to be a surgeon. But they're job embedded, so it's going to take maybe 2 or 3 years for them to really get the hang of it. But these are what we're doing with our teachers. They don't have student teaching. They don't have a lot of the training that what I would call a natural teacher had 3 or 4 years ago, to go through a 4-year degree, education department, go through their practicums, their student teaching, and come out with a full educational degree. So we really have to provide a lot of support systems for these people who are entering the educational field. And we've really got to help to bring them up to speed. And one of the biggest problems they have is classroom management. You know, I mean, it's hard to deal with a class of 20 or 25 students whenever you're not used to having that. So this is just a position that is in the budget. I wanted to bring to your attention that that we are looking at adding. So it is in the budget. The budget is getting close to balance. It's real close. We've done some things here a little bit just to bring some attention to our employees who it was brought to my attention. I saw something on a sheet of paper. So we talked about raising beginning hourly rates to $13 an hour. Whenever I went through the budget, kind of go through it on a big scale, and then we get down to looking at certain things. And I had an employee who has worked for us for 34 years. and she makes $14.38 an hour. And to me, that was just unacceptable. Also, we have a lot of hourly rate employees who are in year 5 and year 21, and they make the same hourly rate. Now, they get longevity pay, but even at the max longevity pay, you're looking at 70-something cents an hour that longevity pay adds on. And Joy, who she looks happy at me, she's really not. She had to do a lot of work the past few days. Carol's done a lot of work to try to add a little bit to employees' hourly rates that are in categories of like 5 to 10 years, 10 to 15, 15 to 20, and just adjust their rate so that a 5-year employee is making different than a 15-year employee who's making different than a 25-year employee. And it's not a lot. I mean, it's 50 cents on the hour, it's $2 on the hour max, but it's something that I think sets it apart. I think it's just something that has to happen to retain. I think that was one of the board's intentions, is retaining employees. So as you've asked for retention of employees, I think that's something that I've listened to and tried to help in the budget. And then also recruitment and development of our employees is something that you have expressed interest in. And then I won't go over it, but that's just the board's budget considerations based on the board's 5-year strategic plan. And that just goes into, based on your strategic plan, this is what I've looked at in the budget that helps with that plan.
Any questions? Mr. Hardy?
Back at the classified employees raise, the teacher assistants, they're hourly, right?
Yes.
And they work about 6 hours a day? Is that what they basically do?
6.5.
It's not a full 8-hour day though, right?
It's not a full 8-hour day, so it's 8 to 2:30, 8 to 2:45, 7.
6.5 and 7.
6.5 and 7.
If we have a substitute, a non-certified substitute makes $105, right?
That is correct.
And that could be just a parent that says, I'll substitute. If you need me, let me know. I'll come in and kind of watch the kids. I mean, they're not really teaching them, right?
I hope so. So we go through sub training. We talk to subs. We prepare them. I mean, obviously, if a teacher wakes up sick tomorrow morning and they had something planned that they're lecturing on, that substitute does not know their,
Lesson plan.
yeah, they may not know the, Kennedy assassination or whatever they were lecturing on, or they may not know pre-calculus. But a lot of teachers have sub-plans in place, things for people to come in and do. So we try to make the most out of a sub, day. Of course, no, it's not. It's not necessarily the same. Of course, some. This is based on a 7.5-hour day for the substitute.
Okay, so the teacher assistant though, if there's no substitutes available, the teacher assistant can become a sub?
Somebody's gonna fill that classroom, whether that's a teacher assistant or
But they won't get a substitute pay though, they'll actually make less money doing that.
well, there's also, you know, one thing to consider is all of our instructional assistants that are 6.5 hours a day are full-time. So they get those full benefits. Employment, they get health, they get retirement. So that's not figured into the hourly rate, but that's definitely yeah, I mean, that's correct. A substitute is not a, you know, you may work out of 180 days, a instructional assistant guaranteed to work those 180 days. We have them hired their own. Substitute, they may work 100 days, they may work, I don't know.
Yeah, they may, I mean, yeah, I
Yeah, a brand new
I'm just kind of worried
instructional
about teacher
assistant.
assistants, though, that they're kind of getting the short end somewhere. That I know that, I personally know that they, through the experience of my son, how important they are, a vital role in the classroom. I just feel like they're not really, I don't know, I feel like they could be either getting the pay of a substitute to increase their day if they're gonna be there as a substitute, or I mean, I personally, I'd rather be a substitute, uncertified, than be a teacher assistant all day.
Yeah, I would too until I had to go to the doctor
They're only-
and I had to pay, you know, $600 for a doctor's visit, lab test, and whatever, whereas an instructional assistant goes to the doctor with our health insurance and pays $25 copay.
Well, I understand that, but a teacher assistant in their 180 days is only making, from what I can figure here, about $17,000 a year as a teacher assistant. It's not gonna be able to get them a second job or try to do anything.
Right. So a substitute could only work a maximum. So one thing to think about too is we have 180 student days. We have 3 professional development days. We use 10 snow days this year. That's 13 days a substitute did not get paid for. That instructional assistant got paid for those 13 days. Also, a instructional assistant works, they get, Carol, they get so many vacation days.
Instructional assistant?
I mean, they get so many extra days. How many days do they work outside?
188 paid days.
188 paid days. So,
I know
yeah.
we're trying to balance the budget and everything, you know,
And
and trying to
instruction-
take care of everybody, but I just feel like they're,
An instructional assistant is not on the, you know, we talked about beginning hourly rate is $13 an hour. An instructional assistant is $13.75 is their starting rate. So they do not, an instructional assistant doesn't start out at $13 an hour. They have a higher starting rate, $13.50, I believe it's $13.75 next year is a brand new instructional assistant would be their starting rate.
and then, we already, okay, the other question, I think you already answered, the longevity difference in time versus the pay. The longer they work here, their pay will reflect that accordingly. I think you already said something about that.
Yeah, there is a board policy. They get based on so many days worked. So it may take remember how that longevity works, Carol?
They have to be worked for 3 years. They get $100 a year, but they have to be here for 3 years before they start getting it for $300. That's for a full if they work 260 days. So then it's prorated based on the number of days they're actually paid for. So
prorate, they have to prorate that, the number of days versus 260 days to get a prorated amount for those who are paid for less than 260 days.
We try to make it as easy as we can.
I was trying to follow it.
Yeah, I will reiterate, that's a board policy.
Okay. Well, I was just trying
I will
to
add.
figure, you know, you get a teacher assistant that maybe has been here 15 years versus one's been here 5 years. What's that pay structure difference in that? Is it a dollar?
It's the same. Yeah, it's not, I can tell you right now, it's not, that's what I was working to separate a little bit and try to, there's a bunch. I don't know really what happened, but Carol can explain it, but people got bunched together.
How long ago was this?
So, do you want to talk?
I don't really get up there.
Yeah, you're fine.
So for several years, the hourly rates were so low. When I first started working here, the custodians were making minimum wage, $7.25. And for years, they only got an increase when minimum wage had gone up. Well, minimum wage is still $7.25. But at a certain point, back when Dr. Edmonds was here, the director of schools, Sherry Fincham, and we started like, we gotta get these hourly rates up, the lowest pay. So they started doing that in increments each year of bringing that hourly rate up. Well, not just for new employees, but current employees had to go up to that too. And so what happened was they all started getting closer together. And because they were raising the minimum wage, there wasn't enough money to equate that for the same kind of increase for a current employee to get that same amount of money increase. So they might have gone up some to get to that same level that a brand new employee. And that happened for several years until we started trying to differentiate. We're new employees coming in, we got our hourly rates higher for starting employees. So we started not making that hourly rate for starting employees as high, so there would be more of a difference between a current employee. But there's still, when you look at it, there's still a lot that are bunched together that are making about the same amount, but they've been here, some have been here longer than that. So it's complicated, and it all boils down to not enough money to try to fix it.
Right.
So we are, I mean, the easiest thing for me to do would just be to move on and overlook it, but I promise you, I could not. So it is, I think it is fixable, but it will take this year and more years down the road with a plan to incentivize people with so much of a year's experience. So it's not about giving 3.5% always, but to differentiate between a 10-year employee and a 1-year employee, and a 10-year employee and a 20-year employee, and not just let longevity take care of that. So.
Yes, sir, Mike. I didn't mean to put you on the spot like that.
I love to be on the spot.
I just said, stuff like that kind of concerns me, and I want,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't want our.
It does me too.
assistants getting-
So just know that instructional assistants are recognized, not in the lowest, they don't enter into on the base level. So they enter in at a little bit higher level than $13 an hour next year. And we're gonna work to increase some instructional assistants. I will tell you this, there's a boy that's at the high school. He's a junior this year. And he worked last year at Wilderness. And he made $15.50 an hour at the Wilderness working. And this year he got bumped up and he's got a person under him. He's 18 years old. A person under him this year, and he's starting out at 19 something an hour. at the Wilderness doing maintenance. So, you know, it is what it is as far as, we have things that we can offer that the Wilderness or several other agencies can't. But a lot of our younger employees look at that hourly rate. They do not look at retirement, insurance, and other benefits that we offer. And it's hard to get them to see that and the importance of it. You know, if Austin Bridgewater was in this room right now, he would let you know that, you know, he wished he could have had this job 10 years ago and known what he knows now about retirement benefits. So, it is what it is.
Anything more?
No, thank you.
Anybody else? I have one question. I'm looking at the 5-year plan. I'm looking here at the, you mentioned it, the teacher retention, recruitment, development. Is that, does that and there's no cost next to that, looking at the 5-year plan under Goal 2 district personnel. Is that 43,700?
That's a max.
That's a max.
Mhm.
Okay, so what would we be talking here, this 120-day position for teacher retention, recruitment, development?
Yes.
Or am I comparing apples and oranges?
Yeah, you would be looking at this. This is, you know, we'd be looking at someone like we have in place now, somebody on 120-day, probably somebody who's in retirement. So we don't pay, they don't cost us any benefits. Bill Walker is with Julie Allen at Piedmont, and Bill's a retired principal, so he's like the assistant principal down there. Gary Jett is a retired, he in the county, he does a lot of different things with truancy and some things, so that is a, you know, Scott Walker, he's an employee that does a lot of stuff for principals, new teachers, some things with new administrators that's helped us out. So, you know, you're looking at, basically, we pull an employee off comes out of retirement, they're definitely, you know, if they put in 20 years or 25 years or 30 years, they're at a higher pay rate than a brand new teacher. So we kind of look at their daily rate that they're leaving us on and figure that. So we've had some that have come in at 36 or 37, but that would be a high end.
Okay. Last question is, so as I understand it, these notes, everything in here is going to be in the new budget with the exception of under the buses, it says $260,980. We'll have to request reserve funds to purchase these 2 buses sometimes next year. Is that right? That's not covered in the actual budget?
There's some money there. I don't have that budget.
You'll have it Friday.
Yeah, I don't, that was done, there is some money there. It's not that total amount.
Could you have that by the board meeting in April? What you would actually have to request next year? Based upon what we have in that?
Maybe.
In that account?
It's possible I could.
Okay.
I may have to talk to Bats. So it's a process. So, you know, these buses only go so long.
Right.
And then we have to retire them, or we have to extend them. So I have to talk with Eric.
Okay.
And then I have to get Eric's recommendation on, you know, is this bus worth extending, or is it costing us a lot of money and mechanical? So to extend a bus costs us money, because we have to get it inspected much more regularly, and that inspection costs us. So the decision to extend a bus's use depends on how that bus is treating us. It's kind of like your car.
Sure.
You know, if you're going to keep a car 10 years, if that's your kind of going rate, then at the end of 10 years, if that car is giving you trouble, you might keep it a little longer. But if it's been a lemon, you might want to get rid of it at 8.
So I guess my question is, everything that we've been going through for about the last half hour, that is in fact in the budget, with the exception of the buses, and
Yes.
whatever that number is, you don't quite know yet.
I'm not sure, but I can get you close.
Okay.
I can get you close. I can tell you, if I need 260 or I need 100, or I'll get you close.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, moving on.
Pre-K, is that next?
Yes.
So this is something that you might be seeing stuff on. I saw on the news this morning, they had a daycare in Blount County being advertised on the news, that there is currently as many children in Blount County that are in daycare, there's that many more that are wanting daycare. And whenever we look at our employees, some of the things in there are employee incentives, employee recruitment, retainment, and I'm looking at also, we have situations where employees request another year of leave to be with their child for whatever reason. They can't have daycare, they don't want it. I know right here at the end, I remember my wife actually took an extra time off during this period whenever 2 of our children were about to start school. But this gives employees of 4-year-olds an opportunity to enroll them into our pre-K program that would allow us to educate their child, and for this to be geared around employees' children. We currently have a pre-K program, but that program is first, you must meet income requirements. None of our employees meet those requirements. So very few of them get the opportunity to participate. None of our teachers would meet these requirements. So we might have a few employees that might be able to meet pre-K requirements for enrollment. So, you know, this is something that we've come up with. We have funding for, and we feel like Christy Waukee sent out a kind of a quick survey to see if we would not have any problem filling this.
Not at all.
So that's not a problem at all. So the need is there. We feel like that we can provide a high quality education to children of our employees. We feel like this would strengthen our employee retention, bring them back to work quicker, you know, whenever they can have their child taken care of in the school setting. And like I said, we had a high level of interest from our employees.
Any questions? One question. Is there any reason that you could think that we wouldn't do this? You say we have funding, we have an existing program. I think in a side conversation, you mentioned we have a location you were thinking at Dandridge Elementary to do it. Is there any reason we wouldn't do this? Well, let me ask you, is there any reason we haven't done this up to this point?
No, yeah, so let's go back 5 years ago. 5 years ago, we had pre-K numbers, so we have 160 seats that the state allots us. We could fill most of those seats. So now we're not really able to fill 160 pre-K seats in the county with 4-year-olds that are 4 years and meet the economic standards to get in. Then they drop down to 3-year-olds. We have a pre-K teacher here. I'm sure she can talk about the difference between a 4-year-old and a 3-year-old in a classroom. It's a huge difference. To me, there is no difference. I don't like either one of them to take care of. I didn't teach pre-K kindergarten for a reason. I did a 6-week interim for kindergarten, was my first placement. I mean, that movie Kindergarten Cop, whenever he goes home and just crashes, that was me. It's exhausting. But there's a huge difference between a 4-year-old and a 3-year-old in the classroom. And so I want to move away from having 3-year-olds within our pre-K classroom. And it is because of those numbers that I think we are now available to offer this program to our employees. I would love to, in the grand scheme of things, I would love to have a one at the high school. I know Randy Rogers is about to die back here, but a pre-K program at the high school that then incorporates students into the our beginning teachers. We have our classes that they can offer supports and helps within the classroom too. So I know that Hamlin County has done this for several years, and they have it at several locations. They're, a larger county, a little more industry, but we are in a good place right now to be able to offer this, to fund this. I know that, right now, whenever you offer incentives, in my opinion, whenever I offer incentives and charge, it's no longer an incentive. This is something I would like to provide to our employees. If later down the road it came to, hey, we've got to charge or we've got to cut, I think if we have a proven program, it's a no-brainer. They have to pay for childcare somewhere or give us a little bit to fund this program. And, the thing is, too, we're not out here going to I didn't just choose a school or a teacher just out of the blue to run this program. It's one of our best and somebody that I trust and confide in to run the best program for our employees.
Any other questions? Okay, let's move on.
All night, she's been itching to get in front of you. Christy Watkey is going to talk to you about recommendations from the adoption committee for science curriculum.
So I do want to recognize Candace Haig, that one of the great pre-K teachers that we were just talking about. So let her wait right there.
Could you get a little closer to the mic?
Yes.
You can actually hold it if you want to.
All right, I'll try that. And then I also want to recognize Haley Gentry is here. So Haley is a leader at the high school. She teaches biology, and she has been instrumental in our adoption process. And so if you have questions after I speak, Haley can help us answer those, hopefully. I am going to be really short. In your packet, you have the information I'm going to go over. Just the letter there at the front is a list of what our committee recommends per grade band.
So in elementary, the teacher committee plus the parent committee chose McGraw-Hill. In middle school, Savas. In high school biology, the vendor is Kendall Hunt. In high school chemistry, 1, chemistry 2, earth and space and physics, they selected McGraw-Hill. And within the packet, you have the names of the teachers that were on the committee and the names of the parents that were on the committee. You have a full list of the parents, and then you have a sign-in sheet for the ones that came to one of the meetings. But some of the parents communicated through email and did not, maybe attend all the meetings in person. Also, I'd like to thank Commissioner Mayer. Thank you for coming to, she came over to the bus garage and looked at the materials, spent a couple hours over there. And then also came to our recommendation or our decision meeting we had here in the library, where all these groups of teachers and parents got together and discussed those different vendors and the benefits and positives and negatives for each one, and came up with this this recommendation. So what we'll do is we'll put this before you in the business session that comes up next, and hopefully you will choose to adopt this curriculum. So if you have any questions for me.
Ms. Mayor, since you were there, would you have any comments on their selections or based upon what you saw?
I actually was thrilled to see this list, actually. I grew up with McGraw-Hill myself, so. Overall, I was impressed by the parent and the teacher involvement with going through all of this. They were very thorough. It was a great experience, actually. And then being able to take a look through all of the materials myself as well. And I really appreciate the opportunity to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. Dr. Arnold, any other comments on anything?
No, I'm done.
All right, that brings us to school commissioner items for discussion. Anybody have any items they'd like to bring up? Yes, ma'am?
It's on the back.
It's on the back, you gotta switch it. You don't push it.
I don't know, that one may push.
Danny.
There you go.
You have to get closer.
There you go. You can even hold it, Don.
In regards to what Michelle Jeanette had brought up, what are the, is that something that our school can go ahead and do to celebrate the US bicentennial, like spend a week just doing that? The week of, was it the?
19th.
The 19th, yeah. That seems
That's
like a
actually-
pretty-
Of April the 19th.
That's Easter week, going into Easter. We'll be off Friday also.
I believe that enters into TCAPS. So I'm sure that won't happen first thing in the morning. Of course, you have there's things in the afternoon maybe that we could look at. I don't know about a whole week, but there's definitely things that we could send out or incorporate into. But I can definitely look at that. I don't know the TCAP schedule. I know Fridays are off, Mondays off. We have makeups, some things going on. So definitely a busy time as we start TCAP testing that week. But we can definitely look at that going into some recognitions and things that we might be able to send out. A lot of times we get some stuff, but we can send out, we can do some research and look at it, see what we have.
Can I put a suggestion up for that? I mean, just what Miss Jeanette did. I mean, could we even do an announcement, at the end of announcements, just, at each school, just doing the story of actually that time that it happened? I mean, it doesn't have to take long. We spent less than 3 minutes. Either, beginning of the day, I don't know when they do them, I think high school does them in the second period or something, but or at the end of the day. Just another suggestion.
Sure.
I think just having that story read over this.
Yeah, a little bit of the story each day during the week. maybe.
Or
I
something.
mean, yeah, posters, banners, whatever. Just to put it in front of the kids so they know. I like the sound of it.
Any other comments? I just, one question, where are we on breaking ground at Talbot?
Austin and I met with Mr. Blankenship Friday. So Austin, myself, Mr. Blankenship, Jessica Elder met. So we are looking to finish construction documents within 10 days of Friday. So sometime the end of this month, 1st of April. So then there is a review process. So for instance, Austin will flip through a book 3 inches thick and look at what they recommended for roof, what they recommended for HVAC, what they recommended for floor fixtures, and then we'll make any suggestions that need to be made, any changes that need to be made, and then once that we feel comfortable with all that, it's finalized, then those construction documents will be put out to bid. I believe they recommended about a 6-week process for those documents to be bid, reviewed, and then awarded. So once that bid is awarded to a contractor, then that's where the school system, the architect, the contractor gets together and sets up a time frame. So, you know, it may be that contractor wins the bid. Of course, there'll be something in there as far as starting within a time period, but you know, some of them may be able to start in 2 weeks, some of them in 5 weeks. So it just depends on when they can break ground. Of course, once the contractor wins that, then they have to line up their subs. So
you're thinking late spring, maybe to mid-summer, sometime in there?
yeah, definitely thinking of June 1st as far as digging in the ground.
Right, that's what I was
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, definitely probably early June as far as somebody there. You know, you might see initial staging or those type of things in late May. But as far as somebody digging in the ground, I'd say you're probably looking at June.
And last question also has to do with Talbot. What's our progress on purchasing that piece of land behind Talbot?
Yeah, Austin has sent some feelers out to the owner of the property, and he told her that, so he's taking a vacation this week. So he told her just to, you know, consider, and then whenever he gets back next week, that he'll give her a call and discuss that property. But you know, you're looking at, that's the 1st of April. Feel no hurry on that as far as knowing that we're not coming in there till June with heavy equipment, and that's about right. So.
Great.
Well, I'll start with the easy one. We have a maintenance committee on April 1st at 6 p.m. at Patriot Academy. Anybody's welcome to come. I want to get out of the way, but I got something to hand out. Just sit this over. So this may be something that we need to look at, or I don't know if it needs to go through policy, or just something that we need to look at and see if Dr. Arnold can recommend something here. So this is specifically for G-tube feeding for children that get tube fed. And this is, you see the first page there, it's a physician order. It's where they'll actually, it's all filled out with the physician's signature. And at the bottom is the parent signature. And this is for, I guess, turned into the nurse, or whoever the medical person in the school is. Now, we've broken these down into 2 pages for you. But what they get is the front, and then on the back, it has reviewed by, but then there's a whole lot of rules and management of students, the G-tube buttons. And it's got a whole list of responsibilities, which is on page 2. That's actually on the back of the page. A couple of things on this that kind of concerns me. If you go down to the school's responsibility, it says, the first notation there, it says, be knowledgeable and follow applicable federal laws, including ADA, IDEA, Section 504, and FERPA. I want a child goes on a field trip and may need assistance at a restroom, and we've seen this happen. You have the boys' room, the girls' room, and so you have a mom with a boy that needs to use the bathroom, needs assistance. There's no family restroom. What is this child gonna do? I mean, does the mom go into the bathroom with the boy? Is there, what if another kid needs to go? I don't know, and I don't have the answer for that. But I think that we need to really seriously look at that, because I know there are multiple, I get calls weekly from special need parents pertaining to situations associated with stuff like this. One was, came to a football game and didn't know where to take their child. You can't just, with mom and wanted to go in, the kid needed to go to the bathroom. What does the child do? I mean, is this something we can address, or, I don't want to say that wherever they go, they have to make sure there's a family restroom. Because if you go up to, I don't know, go up to the Smokies, they're going to have a boys and girls. Is there something that we can address, or is there something that whoever's responsible for that field trip can say, hey, we need to shut this bathroom down temporarily while this without making a big commotion? I mean, it could be a little embarrassing for a child. I don't.
So are you asking for an answer now, or you want just this to be researched?
Well, I think that just, and there's another spot here I'm gonna hit too, but that's something I think we need to either, give Dr. Arnold a chance to kind of think about what we can do, maybe he has an answer, I don't know if he does, I'm not gonna put him on the spot right now.
Sure.
Or something, I don't know. I just, this is a problem that I know that's kind of reoccurred with multiple parents on field trips. And
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, we don't control public spaces.
right.
I mean, we go places, I mean, we can't ask, somewhere that has a boys and a girls restroom. I mean, we don't control those restrooms. We don't control someone's space.
For the one parent, I don't mean to interrupt you, I know the one parent had a concern of a girl going in the boys' room, or the mom taking the boy into the ladies' room. That can, nowadays, that can get kind of a little hairy with the way things are now. I just wanted to bring that up to you. I just don't know what the answer is.
Right. Of course, if a mom has a student in a public place, we're not in control of that parent. If they so choose to take their child somewhere, that's between them and that their child. I mean, there's a lot that probably needs to be looked into just that situation. I'm sure. I guess you're talking about special needs students.
Most
that,
of them, yes.
Most of the time we send attendants with children who need assistance with daily routines. So, but the problem is, if you get, I mean, most of our attendants would not want to go into the restroom with other boys or girls coming in there, so I don't know if they shut that down, but you mentioned parents taking their child into a restroom. You know, that's not anything, we don't control those parents. So,
I don't think it's a common occurrence, but I think that there's, you know, the mom said that their child had actually received a little bit of some, I don't want to call it bullying, but just, you know, just some ribbon and, you know, from the kids the next day. About mom had to take you to the bathroom and, you know, I can see where that could create problems for that kid in the future. That's all. I mean,
Yes.
that's just a little concerning to me. So, and if you go down to where it says responsibility with regard to field trips, 1, 2, 3, the fourth point down there, provide invitation to parent guardian of a student in G2 to accompany their child on field trips, in addition to being a chaperone. However, the student's attendance must not be conditioned in the presence of a parent or guardian. Parent must comply with the school policy. At least one, if not two, school faculty staff should be present on a field trip to provide care to student. If parent is not available to accompany student. So on the first point, so this actually happened to my wife. This was 5 years ago. They went on a field trip, and he's had a lot of medical issues going on, did not have a nurse. So they go on there, and because she was on there, they made her a chaperone, 6 other students, as well as my own son. It's kind of hard to keep up. I know a lot of special needs parents have a hard time keeping up with their own kid, let alone 5 or 6 other kids while they're on a field trip. Is there something we can do or put in the policy dealing that, I mean, if there's a special needs parent going specifically for that purpose, I don't think that parent should be responsible for being a chaperone of even 3 other kids.
Sure. I have definitely, you know, I can't tell you exactly what's happened. I've talked to principals in the room about the role of a chaperone is to be with a group and help that teacher take care of that group. Not to divide up 5 kids to give to a chaperone and tell them to return back at 2:30. So I'm not sure what happened 5 years ago, but that's not something that we tend to do today. So we discourage putting anyone in the care of anybody but a school employee. If we go on field trips, it should be, you know, somewhere like 3rd grade takes a group to the zoo, and you've got a teacher and an assistant with that class. You might have 3 other parents along, but no parents in charge of any student on that trip.
Okay. So that last point right there, I actually had a parent, it's kind of crazy because I was already going to talk about this stuff, and reached out to me on my way up. I actually was in another meeting and spoke to her after, but there is a Dollywood trip for middle school, Jeff Middle coming up, I think. In May, I don't know. Am I right?
It's usually in May.
Okay. And the mother cannot go. Now, he is, you know, he is a sped student. And, so, you know, intellectually, when he's dealing with money, he has no, you know, a lot of them don't have a concept of money. They're given a ticket. The she can't go. And now, that child shouldn't be, I guess it was brought up, I mean, the child should still be, a child should still be able to go on these field trips. And I don't know if, it sounded like it was brought up that there was gonna be multiple children's kind of, we'll see you back here in a few hours, or whatever. I mean,
That's possible.
yeah, I don't know, like, I don't know, that just sounds, I don't know. You're talking about just letting, I mean, when they go on a field trip, it's a field trip, I imagine. Going to Dollywood, and you just let the kids run through Dollywood without a chaperone. I don't know. Am I right? Wrong?
You are correct.
Something just doesn't sound right.
So, are you asking if a parent can't go and the child still wants to go, that a school employee should accompany the kids so he can go? I'm not understanding the
Yeah,
question.
well, you know, I guess it was put on this parent that, you know, we would have to okay somebody else if you got somebody else to do it, replace you. But, you know, I'll just use my, you know, it's not my child, I mean, but I wouldn't know who to call and say, you know, hey, would you go with my child? You know, so that child's, you know, suffers, they worked all year to get how many points, they get points or whatever, they get, I mean, is there, are we only restricted on so many chaperones going? I don't know, you said it was just down to like teachers and staff.
So has this, I know you said his parents spoke to you, have they talked to the school?
Yes.
I mean, the principal's willing to make any accommodations. No child's going to be, I mean, I'll be happy, whatever school you say it's in, I'll be happy to follow up and meet with it. But, you know, I don't have a principal in this building that would exclude a child from a trip based on their needs. Now, there could be a misunderstanding with a parent that their child's going to be excluded, or, I mean, you know, I went to Dollywood in 5th grade and we took 8 CDC students with us. Very capable to do. It's hard. You're going to be tired at the end of the day, but it's very rewarding. So, I mean, no child's going, now the parent may not want them to go or you know, so the parent, there is, children are, for several years, children go to Dollywood and they are in groups and we send a lot of people with them, but it's not, the child is not with an adult every minute of every day at Dollywood.
And maybe it's probably a little unclear, and I'm not talking about the Gen Ed kids.
Yeah.
I'm talking more of the kids that are in SPED.
Sure.
And those are the ones that I would be more, you know, I think that is more the issue of not having chaperones, you know, designated for them.
Right.
I wouldn't want my child, and he's a SPED student, I wouldn't want him running around Dollywood with 2 other kids, and whether I knew the kids or not, you know. Was there?
I mean, just like at the school days, if we have a child that needs accommodations, we make accommodations for that child, whether we're at school or off-site. So, you know, if we have a child that, I mean, we know we're with them for 3 years, 180 days. So we know, you know, I mean, Ben or Emily sitting back there, they know which children they have, and their teachers know, hey, he's going on a field trip, he's gonna need, and we send blank assistant with them, or, or, you know, we don't allow, you know, these group of kids to leave our site for whatever reason. Also, on the Maury trip or the Dollywood trip or wherever they go, they also have kind of like in school. You get out there and misbehave and show your rear, you're locked down with this person. You've now lost your privilege to roam. So you're locked down, you're with this person. They have, you know, standard check-ins, and if they don't check in, then they find them, whatever that takes. But if a child needs an accommodation, so a field trip is an extension of the school day. If someone needs an accommodation, whether for whatever reason, they are given that accommodation to be able to make that trip. Sometimes we have a parent that chooses not to send them for whatever reason, but we will make that accommodation on a trip. Whether it's, you know, child's in a wheelchair, whether they need feeding tube, whether they're intellectually delayed and need an attendant with them the whole time of the trip, whatever.
But if the parent can't go for whatever reason, they work or, you know, medically they can't make it, it's not going to prevent that child from being able to go then?
Right. At least one or two, if not more, faculty or staff should be present on the field trip to care to the student if the parent is unavailable to attend, not available to attend or accompany the student. So if, you know, my child's disabled and I call the school and say, hey, I'm not gonna be able to make this field trip, can you send an attendant with my child? You know, the schools wanna say, yes, an attendant will do, we'll send this regular attendant, or they'll say, we don't feel like an attendant can meet their needs, we're gonna talk to Ms. Trent, and she's gonna find a sub-nurse and send, you know, that's a very, whenever we have to send sub-nurses, we only have so many, and then, you know, we leave a whole school without a nurse, but whatever we have to do, we usually try to make it happen if at all possible.
Okay.
But no child, for any reason, will be left behind due to an accommodation that they need. A few years ago, I had a student who was deaf, and later he went to high school, and Chris played basketball, and his interpreter, what do you call him? Signer? Not sure the word, but, you know, she attended all of his games. So, you know, we pay for that person to attend that event. So I would hope that we make everything that we possibly can for that child to have that day, for that field trip with their peers.
Any other questions?
No, but just to clarify though, if a parent wants to go with their special needs child, they won't be subject to chaperone.
Yeah, we definitely need to. I've talked to them as far as principals, and they pass that down about assigning. You know, we try not to split. Nowadays, I feel much more comfortable sending 3 kids off on their own at Dollywood than I do putting a parent that I don't know in charge of 3 students. If I have to choose one over the other, I'm going to choose the 3 kids by themselves at Dollywood versus 3 kids with an adult I don't know. That's not been background checked. It's not one of our employees. So
I was talking more about as far as a sped's child, so that's fine.
A sped child, I'm not putting, so if a sped child needs support on a trip or anywhere, they're gonna be with one of our trained attendants. Whether that's a CDC, special ed, instructional assistant, attendant, aide, whatever it may be.
Any other questions? Ms. Mayor?
Just real quick, any idea, like, can you get me the school policy?
I couldn't find.
I don't, I don't think this is
Must comply with school policy, so.
we're,
It's on the second, no, the first bullet, or the first bullet that's highlighted. The last sentence, it says parent must comply with the school policy.
first bullet that's high. I'm sorry,
Well, the first-
I'm not
The first
seeing.
pink bullet, the first pink bullet that's highlighted there. So under responsibility with regard to field trips, 1, 2, 3, bullet number 4, the last sentence, parent must
Provide
comply with-
invitation to parent, guardian, or student with G2 to accompany their child on field trips in addition to being a chaperone. However, the student's attendance must not be conditioned on the presence of a parent or guardian. Parent must comply with the school policy.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
there must be a policy in there somewhere.
I couldn't find it.
I mean, I'll have to do some research to determine what the school policy,
That is referred to.
the child's I mean, I don't wanna hold everybody here. I mean, I'll have to do,
That's why I didn't want to do either.
yeah.
I just wanted clarification.
So I don't know if it means that if the parent goes on the field trip, they must comply with school policy. I don't know. I'll have to just, I don't know.
Like, if you find out, can you send it?
Yeah, we'll get together and talk and figure it out.
All right.
Anything else, anybody? Thank you for attending. This meeting is adjourned.